Hey Maya, this is chapter 18 of the name of that book we're reading, Ella Enchanted. That's the name of that book we're reading. I just did yoga today, so I'm all loose and my brain isn't working, so pardon me if this is a bad chapter, but then also I thought I'm coming kind of I think I'm on, what did I upload today? Chapter 11? Yeah, chapter 11, I believe, and which means that I'm getting kind of close to the amount of chapters that I have kind of in reserve. So I felt I should probably upload one. And I have 40 minutes in which, not upload one, record another one. I really cannot talk today. I'm very sorry. I can't create words, but I can read. I will read and it will be good. It will be beautiful. I'll stop inventing my own words now. Good. Okay, chapter 18. She's probably another supplicant, Cyril said, come to beg you to take away a gift you gave her at birth. Don't turn this one into a squirrel. I can't bear to watch it. Claudia grasped Lucinda's wrist. You can't know squirrels lead charming, contented lives. I'm sure she prefers to be a human maiden. A squirrel? I had to keep her from making a squirrel of me. Abensa eke ubasu inoxi ekiria, I said, wondering if she spoke with Aorthian. I had just told her that I didn't understand Kyrian. Lucinda's expression softened. I'm sorry, my sweet, she answered in Aorthian. I asked why you were staring at me. You're so beautiful. Let her think me simple. What a darling child. What's your name, dear? Ella. This was Ella in Aorthin. Beauty isn't important, Ella. Only what's in your heart is important. Do you understand that? Yes, I'm sorry I stared. No need to be sorry, sweet child. You did nothing wrong. Her smile was dazzling. Thank you, lady, I curtsied. You may call me Lucinda, she lifted her chin. They would not have me say so, she indicated Cyril and Claudia, but I am a fairy. A fairy? That's why you're so beautiful. My friends are shopkeepers, Cyril said firmly, also in Aorthian. We sell shoes. For tiny feet, Lucinda laughed. For children, Claudia amended. Oh, I said, I don't need shoes, but I need help, magical help. Can you help me, Lady Lucinda? You don't need her help, Claudia said. You should leave her while you still may. I'd be delighted to help you. You see, Claudia, they do need us. Tell me, Ella. I want more metal, if you please, lady. Metal means, like stubbornness? If I could talk and think and make words tonight, I would be more sure of that. But right now my fuzzy mind is telling me that it means stubbornness, so I'm gonna go with that. Yeah. Whatever anyone tells me to do, I do, whether I want to or not. I've always been this way, but I wish I weren't. The maiden is naturally obedient, Cyril said. Isn't that one of your gifts? And she doesn't like it. I knew how sweet you were the moment I saw you. Obedience is a marvelous gift, Ella. Sometimes I give that gift to little babies. I certainly won't take it away from you. Be happy to be blessed with such a lovely quality. But I began, and then stopped as Lucinda's order gripped me. My mood changed, and I smiled joyfully. The curse had been turned into a blessing. Thank you, lady. Thank you, I said, almost forgetting to speak Aorthian. I kissed her hand. There, you don't have to thank me. You only needed to see it in the proper light. She patted my head. Now run along, Ella. My first order in my new state. I was delighted to obey. I rushed off. I knew I was happy only because I'd been ordered to be, but the happiness was absolute. I still understood why I had always hated Lucinda's gift, but I was glad nonetheless. I imagined future commands, awful ones that would kill me, and I glowed at the idea of obeying them. For the first time since Mother had died, I was free of fear. I would embrace whatever happened. I felt as light as a cloud. I decided to find Father. If anyone would have commands from me, he would. I found him outside Waxy's house, climbing into his carriage. He turned when he heard my voice, and I received a shock. He was actually pleased to see me. I had never before seen him smile without guile. "Ella, my dear!" I didn't care if he was angry. "I ran away from finishing school." He laughed. "I knew the lass had courage. And are you a lady now, or still a clumsy cook's helper? How shall I show you? Curtsy for me." I swept him my finest. "Excellent." All his cunning returned. "You are pretty enough. Foolish of me never to have thought of you. Get into the carriage, Eleanor. I trust you will not damage your gown this time." "Shouldn't we say goodbye to Waxy?" I asked, climbing in. "She won't miss us. She's too heartsore over a gift from a fairy." He frowned. "They say 3 were here, and I never saw a hair of them." The carriage began to move. I didn't care where we were headed. "You are just in time to put your training to use," Father said. "Only tell me what I must do." His eyebrows rose. This is more transformation than I had hoped for. He was silent for a long time. I began to feel drowsy. "I'm a ruined man." His voice startled me. "What?" "I sold an estate that didn't belong to me. The gnomes who bought it have found me out." "Well, no kidding they've found you out. If this estate doesn't... Well, you sold someone else's house. No kidding the gnomes figured out what you'd done. You fool. When we reach Fell, I shall have to repay them, and it will take all I own. I shall have to sell our manor, our furniture, the carriage, and I shall have to sell you, in a manner of speaking. You must marry so that we can be rich again." So that he could be rich again. "Yes, Father. Gladly. When?" I understood the monstrousness of his plan, but nothing could lessen my joy at the prospect of obeying. "What did you say?" "I said, yes, Father, gladly. When?" "You ask when, not to whom. You are so anxious to wed." "No, Father, only to do your bidding." "What did they do to you at that finishing school? No wonder you ran off." When we reached our manor, Father stayed outside to speak with the coachman while I hurried inside to find Mandy. She was scrubbing vegetables, and a parrot perched on her shoulder. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Ella! Ella, my sweet!" The parrot squawked in gnomic. "Choc! Quoi echod de zoch choc!" I wished she'd never stop squeezing me. I wished I could spend the rest of my life as a child, being slightly crushed by someone who loved me. Father spoke from the doorway. "I shall be away from home this evening. However, tomorrow we shall entertain. Elvish mushrooms will arrive from the market. They're a delicacy, Mandy. Serve them as a first course for Lady Eleanor and her guest." "What guest?" Mandy asked after Father left. "My husband, perhaps. I'm so glad, Mandy." She dropped the pot she'd been washing. It fell into the washtub, but rose back into her hands a moment later. "Your what?" The parrot squawked again. "Choch!" Mandy had named him Chalk, after his favorite word, which was an exclamation in gnomic, meaning "oh," or "oh my," or even "eek." In this case, I'm sure it meant eek. "My husband. Father has lost all his money. I must marry so he can be rich again." "This tops all," she stormed. "What is he thinking about, marrying off a chick like you? And why are you so glad about it?" "Not just glad, I couldn't find the right word. Ecstatic to do it, if it will please them both, my father and my new husband." Mandy cupped my chin in her hand and examined my face. "What's happened to you, child?" "I met Lucinda, and she made me happy to be obedient." "No, baby, no, honey." Mandy blanched. "She didn't. It's much better this way. I don't feel cursed anymore. Don't be sad," I smiled. "See, I'm giving you an order. If you obeyed it, you'd be happy too." "She turned you from half puppet into all puppet. I'm supposed to be glad about that?" I didn't answer. While Mandy stood dumbstruck, I looked around the kitchen, greeting every familiar object. Finally she muttered, "Lucinda's up to new tricks." Then she spoke to me. "I'm starved. Are you ready for dinner, love?" We supped together in the kitchen, only the two of us and the parrot, because Father had dismissed the other servants. "Boo! Boo, Sir Peter. He must like my cooking too much to get rid of me," Mandy told me over cold chicken wings and warm bread. She spoke no more of my new obedience, but it must have been on her mind because she changed toward me. She stopped being bossy. I suppose she wouldn't give Lucinda the satisfaction of using my new state. However, Lucinda wouldn't have known, and I was denied the joy of obeying. The next afternoon we prepared the broth for a fish stew with wild onions, dinner for my guest. I was slicing the onions when a boy brought the mushrooms Father had promised. Their carton bore the label Torlin Carew. Carew meant mushrooms, but I didn't know the meaning of Torlin. Examining the box, Mandy frowned. Sweet, would you look up that Torlin word for me? Torlin. Noun, justice, fairness, I read in my dictionary. Torlin Carew, justice mushrooms, induce feelings of liking and love in those who eat them, used in elvish courts of law to settle civil disputes. I'll Torlin Carew him! It doesn't matter, I said. It matters to me. Mandy yanked on her boots and flung her cloak over her shoulders. I'll be back soon. Please keep the broth from coming to grief. I stirred the soup and thought about our... sorry, my ear itches. I thought about our dinner guest. I would be glad to marry him, but would I be glad afterward? He might be cruel, or dull-witted, or mad. Father, mad meaning crazy. But you knew that because you're smart. Father wouldn't concern himself with my happiness, only with his own. If he were terrible, Mandy could order me to be contented anyway, or perhaps I could persuade my husband to issue the command. Chuck landed on my shoulder and pecked lightly in my... Sorry, I'm being a terrible reader this time, and pecked lightly at my ear. Chuck, Jumku Azuch. Lovely, an order. I had to kiss him. I turned my head and managed to kiss a wing as he flew to perch on a high shelf. Jumku Azuch, he squawked again. I approached the shelf and extended my hand. The bird obligingly hopped on. I brought him close to my face, but before I could touch my lips to a feather, he flew away down to the top of a window shutter. I ran for the chair so I could climb up to him, but as soon as I was high enough, he flew off. When Mandy returned half an hour later, I had a spoon for stirring the broth in one hand and a strainer for catching chalk in the other, and I was breathless from running from one to the other. The curse must have known I was trying to obey, because my complaints hadn't started. I wasn't dizzy or faint or in pain, but I was weeping. Chalk wouldn't let me obey and be happy. Ella, what's afoot? A wing, what's a wing? I corrected, starting to laugh through my tears. Chalk won't let me kiss him. Don't kiss the filthy creature, Mandy ordered, releasing me. Drumku Azuch! He did it again, I said. Don't kiss him. Okay, here's something I don't understand. So, Ella is fluent in Gnomic, so that's all, well and good and whatever. She hears this bird say, kiss me in Gnomic, and then she has to kiss him, Fine, I get that. What happens if you're obedient but aren't fluent in Gnomic and somebody gives you an order in Gnomic? Like, what happens if you don't understand the order that you're given, but it's still an order that was given to you? What happens then? I ask you this, because I don't know. I told Chalk, hoping he'd adopt my addition. I repeated it. He liked it. Much better. The new version was, don't kiss me. I'd be delighted every time he said it. After we put the kitchen to rights, we began to replace the Torlin Carew with innocent mushrooms. Maybe I should eat the elvish ones. I don't want you hoodwinked, even if you don't care. Father came into the kitchen. How is our dinner faring? He asked genially. Then his face darkened. Why aren't you using my mushrooms, Mandy? She dropped a quick curtsy. I don't know these elvish ones, sir. Maybe they're not fine enough. I didn't want her to be blamed. I told her to exchange them when she wasn't sure. I sent you to finishing school so you wouldn't be a cook's helper, Ella. Use the elvish mushrooms, Mandy. Okay, if you don't understand what the elvish mushrooms are going to do, I'm going to explain it to you. So, the elvish mushrooms, basically what they're going to do is make Ella really, 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 really like or even love this guy that her dad is inviting for dinner. The guy who's going to, possibly be her husband. So, that's a jerk. Yeah, the guy's not that bad, but it's like, he's old and stuff, so, no. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm debating whether or not I should read another legend. We'll record another one tonight. I don't know. I'm in a weird mood. Okay. Night-night. Night-night.